Year 2, Week 12, the finish line in sight. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to another DNS address. Week 12 is in the books, and we are officially at the point where everybody can see the finish line. Georgia Tech is still perfect. Georgia Southern has 10 wins. South Florida has 10 wins. The Heisman race has officially flipped, and bowl eligibility is either being secured or slipping away. Meanwhile, Northern Illinois keeps fighting. Central Michigan is quietly stacking wins. Old Dominion somehow got another monster John Barillo performance and still lost. Texas State went from beating number 14 Boise State to scoring 5 points because college football enjoys making sure nobody gets too comfortable. This is where the season starts asking who you think you are and starts telling you. Let's get into it. Our headline of the week is Georgia Tech survives Clemson and moves to 11-0. Number 13 Clemson came to number 2 Georgia Tech with one mission: ruin perfection. They did not. Georgia Tech wins 41-28. Quincy Clutts completed 26 of 39 passes for 294, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions, so not perfect, but good enough. Kromah rushed 20 times and 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shout out to Alexander, added 45 in another score. Kevin Roche Jr. had a huge afternoon from the tight end spot. 9 receptions, 125 yards. Manuel Addison added 9 catches for 98 yards and 2 scores. The defense recorded 2 sacks and an interception. This was not one of those Georgia Tech games where the Yellow Jackets completely buried somebody. Clemson pushed them. Georgia Tech answered. That matters because eventually every undefeated team gets drugged into a game where style points disappear and survival becomes the only thing that matters. The Yellow Jackets improved to 11-0, still number 2, still unbeaten, still controlling their own playoff destiny. And next week, number 19 Georgia comes to town, 11 down, 1 regular season game left. Perfection is sitting right there. Georgia Southern gets the 10. Number 15 Georgia Southern hosted UL Monroe and made very quick work of them. The Eagles won 48-7. Weston Bryan only completed 6 passes. Cesar Ava also completed 6 passes, and Georgia Southern still scored 48. Why? Because the ground game took over. Woodgett rushed 16 times for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. J.J. Bradley added 119 and another score. That's 244 between those two backs. Kam Mikell added 67 receiving yards and a touchdown. Then he took a punt return back 76 yards for another score. That's one way to make sure the offense doesn't have to stay on the field very long. The defense added 4 sacks and an interception. Georgia Southern improves to 10-1. 10 wins. The Eagles are moving up to number 14 heading into next week. Now comes Appalachian State. And Georgia Southern is sitting exactly where every good team wants to be this time of the year. Ranked, confident, and playing meaningful football late in November. South Florida does keep pouring it on. UTSA traveled to number 7 South Florida. The Bulls win 56-10. Michael Van Buren Jr. completed 11 of 16 passes for 140 and 2 touchdowns. Henry Hasselbeck came in and threw 4 more touchdowns. 4. South Florida got 6 touchdowns from their 2 quarterbacks. Joe Jackson rushed for 101 yards and a touchdown. Shelton Sampson Jr. caught 12 passes for 130 and a score. Jaquan Smith added a 95-yard kickoff return touchdown. The defense was able to record 3 sacks. This was complete domination, and yet the biggest story coming out of Tampa may be the Heisman race. Joe Jackson's been number 1 for weeks. That's changed. Jackson's now number 2. Shelton Sampson moves up to 3, and South Florida still owns 2 of the top 3 spots in the entire Heisman conversation. Meanwhile, Joe Jackson's also chasing the Barry Sanders single season record for rushing yards. The Bulls improved to 10-1. Next week, Army comes to town. South Florida is now ranked number 5. This is not just a good season. This is a national season. John Barillo takes over the Heisman race. Southern Mississippi traveled to Old Dominion and escaped with a 38-35 victory. That's the frustrating part. But for John, may have just had the performance that put him at the top of the Heisman race. 34 carries, 121 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 13 receptions, 121 rushing yards. 3 touchdowns, 13 receptions, 155 receiving yards. That's 276 from scrimmage. That also earned him the National Offensive Player of the Week once again, and he is now number 1 in the Heisman race. A freshman, a freshman, a freshman. Let that sink in. Ricky Burns threw for 247 and a touchdown. He also added a rushing score. Early Newsome returned a kickoff 98 yards for a touchdown. The defense recorded 6.5 sacks. Old Dominion did a lot right, but in a 3-point game, a missed opportunity makes the difference. The Monarchs fall to 7-4. James Madison is next, but John Varello, he now owns the top spot in the Heisman race. Freshman number 1. That is special. Northern Illinois keeps building. Air Force visited the Huskies, and the Huskies were able to pull out a win 17-13. It was not pretty. Brayshawn Brown threw 3 picks. He also rushed for 85 yards and a touchdown. Johnny Tongues rushed for 94 and another score. Anthony Coolidge added 70. The defense was able to force 3 fumbles and recorded 3 sacks. Northern Illinois found a way. That's the important part. The Huskies improved to 3-8. And after spending much of the year a losing close game team, they've started to flip some of those. New Mexico comes to town next week. No bowl game, no playoff race, no conference trophy, just improvement. And sometimes that's exactly what a program needs. Central Michigan is quietly coming alive. Ball State traveled to Central Michigan, but the Chippewas win 30-19. Quentin Smead threw for 187 and a touchdown. Geno Sheets added 74 through the air. Trav Moore rushed for 108 and a touchdown. Von Blue had one of the most interesting stat lines of the week. Only 37 rushing yards, but he had 12 receptions for 89 yards. Central Michigan found ways to get him involved. The defense was able to record 3 interceptions and block a kick. Johnny Hepburn also returned a punt, 76 yards for a touchdown. Special teams and defense, ground game. Central Michigan got contributions everywhere. The Chippewas improved to 3-7. Remember, this team was 0-6. They now have 3 of their last 4 games won. Eastern Michigan comes next. The season may not end with a bowl, but it's no longer ending without momentum. Mississippi State's bowl hopes take a hit. South Carolina travels to Mississippi State and won 39-13. Max Coolidge threw for 217 and a touchdown, but he threw 2 picks. PhD was held to 34 rushing yards. Colin Wilson finished only with 15. The Bulldogs could not establish the run. Marquise Johnson still caught 11 passes for 130 and a touchdown. Defensively, Mississippi State made plays. Tamon Beach recorded an interception and returned it 85 yards for a touchdown. The defense finished with 4.5 sacks and 2 picks, and the offense just could not do enough. Mississippi State falls to 5-6. 1 game left. Ole Miss, 1 win needed for bowl eligibility. This is about as simple as it gets. Beat your rival and go bowling. Lose, and the season ends 5-7. Welcome to rivalry week pressure. Texas State gets brought back to earth. 1 week ago, Texas State beat number 14 Boise State. This week, Utah State beats Texas State 21-5. 5 points. The entire emotional swing of college football in 7 days. Rising through for 148 and 2 interceptions. Cole Pryor was able to rush for 143. He also lost a fumble, though. Graves led the receivers with 49 yards. The defense was able to record 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and intercept a pass. Even recorded a safety. That should have kept you competitive, but the offense produced only 3 points outside of that safety. Texas State falls to 5-6, and just like Mississippi State, the Bulldogs have 1 game left. Fresno State. 1 win, that's all they need. Win and go bowling. Lose and stay home. No complicated math. Sacramento State stumbles. Ohio traveled to Sacramento State and came away with a 18-7 victory. Sam Babcock threw for 247 and a touchdown. He also threw 2 interceptions and was sacked 3 times. Rainey rushed for 72 yards. Godley added 68. Jackson, we'll go with Francois, caught 11 passes for 72 yards. The defense played well enough. 5 sacks, 4 of those belonging to Logan Gregg. alone, 4 sacked, 1 players. That's an outstanding individual effort. But Sacramento State could not generate enough offense. The Hornets fall to 7-4. They are bowl eligible. Still have a strong year, but the offense has to be better heading into the finish. Utah State comes next. Our stock ups of the week. Number 2, Georgia Tech, 11-0, 1 game for a perfect regular season. That is the definition of stock up. Number 14, Georgia Southern, 10 wins, another blowout, and rushing attack that looks completely comfortable heading into the finish. Number 5, South Florida, 10 wins, 2 top 3 Heisman candidates, and another 50-point performance. John Verrillo, not Old Dominion, just John, because a freshman taking over the number 1 spot in the Heisman race deserves his own category. Central Michigan, 3 wins in 4 games after starting 0-6. This is a legitimate turnaround. And our needs more film this week. Texas State's offense, 5 points after upsetting Boise State. That cannot happen with bowl eligibility. Sitting 1 win away. Mississippi State's running game, 49 combined rushing yards for PhD and Colin Wilson. That is not enough. And Sacramento State's offense, 7 points. The defense gave them a chance. The offense never found a rhythm. It showed. Our Week 12 honors our National Offensive Player of the Week is halfback John Verrillo from Old Dominion. Our Defensive Player of the Week is free safety Tremont Beach from Mississippi State. 11 tackles, 1 interception. That was an 85-yard pick six. The Bulldogs lost, but Beach gave them one of the biggest defensive plays of the week. Our Built Not Given award for the week belongs to the Chippewas. That team started the season 0-6. At that point, it would have been easier to check out. Easy to send forward. Easy to say year 2 simply was not their year. Instead, Central Michigan kept playing. They beat Western Michigan. They won again. And now they've beaten Ball State 3 wins in 4 games. The Chippewas are not going bowling. They are not playing for a championship, but they are building something. Momentum, confidence, and proof that a season did not break them. This is exactly what this award is supposed to recognize. The turnaround was built. It was not given. Our Heisman watch, as we spoke earlier, halfback John Verrillo from Old Dominion, the freshman, mind you, sitting in second halfback Joe Jackson, chasing Barry Sanders' record from South Florida, the senior, and wide receiver Shelton Sampson Jr., also a senior from South Florida. See if those 3 men can get something. Our Week 13 headliner is going to be number 19, Georgia, at number 2, Georgia Tech. This is it. Georgia Tech is 11-0, number 2 in the country. 1 victory away from a perfect regular season, and Georgia is coming to town. Ranked opponent, rivalry game, everything on the line. You cannot script it better. Georgia Tech has spent the entire season answering every question. Can they win big games? Yes. Can they win close games? Yes. Can they survive on the road? Yes. Can they win with offense? Yes. Defense? Yes. Special teams? Yes. Now, there is one final regular season question. Can they finish perfect? Week 13 spotlight from around the league. Army travels to number 5 South Florida. UL Monroe is behind Georgia Southern, and now the Eagles travel to Appalachian State. Old Dominion travels to James Madison. Southern Miss waits in the rearview mirror while the Monarchs try to finish strong. Ole Miss visits Mississippi State with bowl eligibility on the line. Let's see the Egg Bowl. Texas State visits Fresno State with bowl eligibility on the line as well. Utah State hosts Sacramento State. Eastern Michigan hosts Central Michigan. New Mexico visits Northern Illinois. Troy returns from the bye to face Southern Miss. And number 19, Georgia, travels to number 2, Georgia Tech. We are officially down to the games that define the season. Ladies and gentlemen, the finish line is in sight. Georgia Tech's 11-0. Georgia Southern has 10 wins. South Florida has 10 wins. John Verrillo is now number 1 in the Heisman race. Northern Illinois keeps fighting. Central Michigan has won 3 of 4. Mississippi State needs 1 win. Texas State needs 1 win. And Georgia Tech needs 1 more win for perfection. This is what late November football is supposed to feel like. Every game has weight. Every possession feels bigger. Every mistake follows you longer. And every win gets you one step closer to something worth remembering. So whether you're chasing a playoff berth, a title, a conference title, a Heisman, a bowl, or just trying to finish the season better than you started it, the message is the same: finish. Because nobody remembers how you tried and how tired you were in November. They remember what your record looks like when the clock hits 0. And in the Department of Natural Selection, you select, we collect, built, not given.